It's hot out there. Well, let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Lachlan.
This is RamView. I'm Joe Trosian, and this is RamView for the first time, it feels like, in a week. I hope you all got everything you wanted for Christmas this year. Santa brought me something special. He brought me a totaled vehicle. So, yeah, as you know, I did a little blurb on Tuesday. I was going to go live, and I was sitting in the Ram cave, and I heard this smash and boom, and I went out, and some guy didn't speak the language, didn't have insurance, smashed into my car on the street. So Merry Christmas. And that obviously caught me up for a few days. I do apologize for not being here, but we are here now, and I appreciate your guys' patience in all of this. And this episode of RamView is, of course, brought to you by Kistler Law. If you're injured in an auto accident, if you need help, if you got questions, call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And of course, check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And of course, by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, our friends at Sports Ball Games. Whether you're playing for a hill of beans or for just jelly beans, Sports Ball Games is the place to go. I will get those graphics up a little bit later. We've had some struggle here with some graphics getting on, and I was just anxious to get on before my day got messed up because I'm waiting for a call. I get to go and do the final eval of what remains of my vehicle, and then find out all the processes thereof. So just wanted to get this one in. And of course, a lot of stuff has happened with the Rams, comings, goings. And most of all, I'm thinking of Chase Blackburn.
You are obsolete. You are obsolete.
Chase Blackburn was declared obsolete.
You are obsolete. You are obsolete.
So Chase Blackburn is gone. I give credit to Sean McVay. Part of being a leader is a couple things. One, you got to make the hard calls, and you have to do them at difficult times, and you might want to be concerned for the individual that you're canning, but you also got to do what's best for the group as a whole, and bro needed to go because
you are obsolete. You are obsolete.
Josh Carty is also gone. Now, he was poached by the Cardinals. You can tell the Rams still had some hope for him. I think he is actually a victim of Chase Blackburn myself. Carty's misses, to me, where he was speeding up his process. He wasn't just getting kicks off because that line, the people blocking for him were just getting blown up. There were a lot of holes in that whole thing there. So Josh Carty's gone. Alex Ward is gone. Chase Blackburn is gone. And Bo Limmer hasn't played since, week 3 in Philly. So this whole situation here is being reevaluated. And good job. Good call by McVay. You got to make those hard calls. You have to. It's what they pay you the big bucks for. Rams waived Christopher Smith. I think they wanted to put him back on the practice squad. And they released Alec Johnson from the practice squad at the same time. But Smith was signed by the Jets, and Johnson was re-signed to the practice squad. Rams have brought in Royce Newman. He's on the practice squad. 6'5", 310 guard. A lot of right guard, which that's where Kevin Dotson plays. But Newman hasn't played a snap this season, and only 3 along the line in 2024. He was originally a 4th-round pick of the Packers out of Ole Miss in 2021. He does have some starting experience, but not in the recent history. Justin Diedick will hold that spot down until Kevin Dotson comes back and Bo Limmer continues to become just a memory. Also, again, looking at the Rams injury situation here, yeah, there's some names there. Quentin Lake, who could be designated to return anytime. Devontae Adams, we understand his situation. Kevin Dotson. But with all that said, the Rams have been remarkably healthy at this point. And You have to wonder when you start looking at the playoff picture, when you know you're going to be on the road, it's almost a case of choosing where you want to be on the road. Can the Rams win the next 2 games? Yeah. Could the Seahawks lose something? Yeah. Could the Rams still get the first seed? Yeah. I just wouldn't play for it. I would be more concerned right now, and I think this is a McVayism as well. I'd be more concerned right now making sure my team, health-wise, is in tip-top shape going in. There's all sorts of variables here. You know, if you're not a division winner, right? If you're not a division winner, you're going to be on the road. Well, which division winner do you want to go to? I'd like to go back to Carolina, right? If Carolina holds on, and I think they will. And I think they can give Seattle some fits this week, and we'll talk about that. But I'd rather go to Carolina. Do I want to go back to Soldier Field or Philly? No, I really don't want to go back to Soldier Field or Philly. So we'll get into some conversations about that. Awesome. You guys are here. Jim Everett, thank you for joining us. Tribe, thank you for joining us as well. Everett, Roger Craig, I think you guys are having a conversation. That's okay. You can have a conversation that doesn't involve me. I'm just here for you guys. I'm just happy to be here, to tell you the truth. It was brutal, man. It was just brutal. Every time I tried to get on, something came up, and I got something coming up. And I'm normally not a 12:30 guy that gets on the air, but I got to go to the auto body place and I think identify the remains of my 2018 Chevy Traverse. So Rams Falcons this week. I do like the Rams against the Falcons. I do believe the Rams are going to be very angry about what took place last Thursday. So I do think they have a shot. Now, the thing about this Atlanta team, you don't know which Atlanta team's going to show up. If you just look at it on paper, it's a dangerous team. The guys they drafted to go after the quarterback have done a pretty fair job. But offensively, right, they're going to be at home. Raheem Morris has familiarity with the Rams, right? The Falcons got nice receivers. If Drake London plays, that's going to be a struggle. But they got nice receivers. They got a great running back. Marshall Faulk class running back, and a better than average offensive line. And if he stays upright, you know, we know what Kirk Cousins can do. He's somewhat akin to Jared Goff. And if you can't knock him down, if you can't move him off his spot, he's going to eat you up. Now, again, hopefully the Rams are angry. I'm going to bet that the Rams are angry. And I think the Rams take this one. And then, of course, there's the added incentive of right now the Rams have the 11th overall pick. And you kind of want to beat the Falcons down just a little bit more. I don't think with the way everything's progressing right now, the Rams are going to take that Falcon pick any higher than 9th or 8th or something. Right now, I'll have to go back and check it. Falcons have played themselves up, and other teams have just gotten worse. So you still want to push that thing down. There is something about saying, hey, I can deal you a top 10 pick if the Rams want to make a move there. I like the Rams against the Falcons. I'm going to say it right now, 31-21. That's where I'm leaning. And, of course, we're going to talk a lot of NFL and everything else as we get caught up. So please hit like, subscribe. Be sure to check out our sponsors. Be sure to check out our book here, Game Day in the Ram Cave. Long shot it feels right now for Packers to be playing the Rams in SoFi, but you never know. Be sure to check that out. That book is on Amazon. All right, cool. Let's keep rolling here. Coaches on the hot seat. I will say this, Todd Bowles, absolutely. Pete Carroll, yep. Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris might be a mid-season fire next year if he doesn't get it turned around. They're talking in Miami that Mike McDaniel saved his job. Okay, that's great. Mike Tomlin was never going to be fired. He did another great job. Got another winning record, but it's going to be the same old story, right? And they're going to be drafting middle of the pack. And then are you going to get another year out of Aaron Rodgers? And TJ Watt's another year older. I don't think Mike Tomlin gets fired. Steelers don't fire their head coaches. But could Mike Tomlin be looking for a change and he himself self-terminate? I think Jonathan Gannon's in trouble in Arizona. I thought Dan Quinn was in trouble in Washington. They might give him the benefit of the doubt. And I think Zach Taylor should be in trouble in Cincy. Just depends on where he's at with his contract. Looking at other things just outside of the NFL, Notre Dame USC is no more. When you really look at it and you see what USC has to do, Notre Dame needs to join a conference, right? We've put up with so many changes, right? The traditional bowl thing is gone. All the things are gone that used to be part of college football. Some of them horrible. The red shirt transfer, all these things, the portal, NIL. Honestly, Notre Dame not being in a conference is an anachronism. It's from another day and age. It just doesn't exist anymore. And they should be in a conference. And more than one person said it. If Notre Dame had been in a conference this year, if they had been in the ACC, they'd be in the college football playoff. So, yeah, times have changed. And honestly, what needs to happen is the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC just need to ditch any association with the NCAA, hire a commissioner, let a computer work out your schedule for you, and then that way everything is equitable when you come to the end of the year, right? It's not about, this team was playing better at this time and they got this win at this point in the season. Love college football. Looking forward to the Indiana game this week. But yeah, Notre Dame USC, I'm sorry it's gone. Maybe as a USC fan, I'm not so sorry based on the way it's gone. Around the NFL, other places, the Bills released former Ram Morgan Fox. Morgan Fox got put in the street. I always appreciate Morgan Fox, how he worked out his career as an undrafted free agent, kept coming and going and got a second contract eventually. I think he bounced around with the Chargers, was either Carolina or Jacksonville. So he's going to get a retirement. So good for him, right? Patriots designate Milton Williams to return. That is huge for the Patriots. And, of course, DK Metcalf suspended for 2 games. What are the overs and unders in the first round of the playoffs that DK Metcalf makes 2 great plays and 1 brain dead one? Can I get a vote on that? How good are the 49ers? We saw that game Monday night. The 49ers are so good that they needed a special teams turnover by Indy and an atrocious Colt defensive performance to beat a 44-year-old quarterback. Think about that. A 44-year-old quarterback nearly with just a little defensive help would have beat the 49ers. Don't count that last touchdown, but that is something to think about. I'm just not sold on Frisco. I'd be perfectly happy to go up to Levi and beat the snot out of them there as a Ram fan. Chris Jones playing for Kansas City. You look at Kansas City's situation, they need to blow it all up. It shouldn't even be a question. If Travis Kelce wants to keep playing, he's going to play someplace else. And Chris Jones should be traded, get rid of his contract, get some draft capital. There are like 45 rocks in the red when it comes to the salary cap. And, yeah, it's brutal. So they just need to make some big-time moves. You keep Creed Humphrey, and, you find out what you got in that left tackle that missed half the season, and you just go from there and just rebuild around Mahomes, right? But you got to get rid of these older guys. They are history. All right. Steve Ramirez, big Notre Dame fan. USC has become wimps. Nah, man. I mean, Notre Dame needs to join a conference, Steve. SC is already playing all these big names. I wouldn't want to add another big name. The Big Ten's for real. That's how I feel about it. Notre Dame needs to join a conference. That's my opinion. I'll let everyone else that pops in at this odd hour ask. I'll tell you what. I'll even tell the Mid-Valley Sports guys to put it on the board on their poll. Does Notre Dame need to join a conference? And we'll let the public decide. There we go. Injuries derailed the Lions season again. No matter what anyone says, yeah, injuries derailed the Lions, right? As someone, all of us who had eyes on the 2022 Rams, you know what an excessive amount of injuries can do. The Lions had it. I don't think there's a fundamental problem with their front office or their coaching staff. They probably will get a new OC. But I do need to say this, and maybe it's really time to start thinking about it, is the Lions really need to think about acquiring a replacement for Jared Goff. I mean, Goff's still the quarterback right now, but they need to acquire an heir apparent. And now that they got some probably a little higher draft pick than they expected, maybe they can maneuver that and take somebody in the second round. They need to get somebody in-house because, again, you see Goff's weaknesses, right? You see Goff, he looks just a lot like Kirk Cousins, man. He just looks so much like Kirk Cousins is that not all those things were his fault, but it's just what it is. It is what it is, right? They called Matthew Stafford a statue. I don't know what you'd call Jared Goff, Earth. I mean, it is unbelievable. And then you look at Lamar Jackson's situation. Lamar Jackson's situation has become an issue, and it's kind of risen up to the top here. And my mind goes to Steve McNair. Not his tragic ending, but once the legs go, these guys are done. Now, McNair was a pretty accomplished passer. He's had some great years there in Tennessee. And remember, he finished in Baltimore, but it was 1 year he was there in Baltimore, I think. And he just kind of fell off a cliff. And Jackson hasn't looked right all year. Age, too many hits. If that back injury was caused by that hit that he took, it wasn't that significant of a hit. There's just a lot of mileage on that guy. And I keep hearing trade him. Yeah, trade him if you're Baltimore. But any GM, Miami, the Jets, anybody saying, oh, yeah, let's trade for Lamar, man, you're crazy, because I don't think he's a bad guy like he was being described in a recent article, but I do think his days of being elite are over. And on top of that, next year, his cap hit, 74.5 rocks. And the year after that, 74.5 rocks. Would you really deal 2 number ones for Lamar Jackson at this point? Not me. All right, Mr. Ramirez chimes in. If USC can't beat Notre Dame, how do you expect it to win a college football playoff? Well, here's the thing, though. You got to run the gauntlet of the Big Ten. You got to run the Big Ten gauntlet and then play Notre Dame, which doesn't get you any points, right? You got to win the Big Ten title to get into the Big Ten final, and get in the Big Ten final to win the Big Ten title, and then get a berth. Strength of schedule, when you go strength of schedule and you go all that stuff, you're just leaving it in the hands of others. And I think there's a more clear path if you're in a conference. And I like Notre Dame to be in the thing. I like Marcus Freeman, but the truth was, if they were in a conference, they'd be in. Let's see here. Jim Everett the Great. Rams destroyed the Niners in Santa Clara. Yeah, I'm not afraid to go there. I'm not afraid to go there at all. I'm going to show you something here in a second, but I want to talk about Myles Garrett. Great player, right? He's going to set the record this weekend. Most sacks ever. He should be Defensive Player of the Year. Get him his gold jacket. He has 120. Right now, he has 124.5 sacks in 9 seasons over 132 games. That's really impressive, right? Right? He's been in 3 playoff games. 3 playoff games. What? 2 in 2020 where he won 1. And then 1 in 2023 when Flacco fever hit Cleveland, right? That's it. Yeah, and in those 3 playoff games, he has 1 sack. He is currently operating in that 4-year, 160 rock contract he signed before last year, right? Or was it this offseason? I think it was this offseason. 123 of those rocks are guaranteed. By the time the contract expires, he'll have made 329 rocks in his career. He'd make quarterback money, right? But here's the deal. No ring. And he had opportunity before signing to force a trade. And with him, the Browns since 2017 are something like 53, 76, and 1. In the end, as the greatest pass rusher of all time, which I know people want to label him as, and you can do that. In the end, what impact does that make for the Browns, right? The Browns should have traded him. They should have moved off of him, because you could replace guys like him with better players all around the team, and maybe you pick off a few more wins. You're going nowhere with him. And then we're going to hear the story, right? Oh, I just want to see him get a ring. He had a choice. He chose the bread. And he would have gotten significant bread in other places. The Packers foolishly paid Micah Parsons too much money. You can get your bread. There's always somebody out there that's going to get you your bread. Maybe not the huge money the Browns gave, because they're they like spending, at Deshaun Watson levels. But I struggle with Myles Garrett. I struggle because does he want to win? You take that kind of a contract, you eat up a lot of the cap space for a bad team that's got a history of not being very good. Do you want to win? I'd say, gosh, get me out of here and I'll take 10 million less. And now I'm playing in January and February. And so, again, it goes back to TJ Watt. TJ Watt, going to be a Hall of Famer. I know Steeler fan Rob loves him. Steeler fan Rob, when he dreams of TJ Watt. But Steelers haven't even won a playoff game with TJ Watt. Haven't even won a playoff game, right? I mean, come on. Keep an eye on the Packers, right? Keep an eye on the Packers and the money they're paying Micah Parsons. Look how close the Cowboys were. I mean, Cowboys had other injuries that hit. I mean, the Cowboys came very close to making the playoffs without Micah Parsons. Yeah. So that, again, is something more to think about. Let's see, $5 Steve. Goff is back to 2019. Brian Flores went back to that blitz package he used against. Yeah, was that the game? Or I was thinking of the 2020 game. But, yeah, I know. He just ate him up. Yeah, Goff, man, aren't you happy we made that trade, right? Jim Everett. Rivers had enough time to make a sandwich in the pocket. 49ers don't have a pass rush. Look, weren't they fortunate, right? Weren't they fortunate enough to get that win? I mean, they were incredibly fortunate to get that win. Okay, here's a trivia question. I'm going to throw out there to you. Anyone but $5 Steve can answer it. Who's the only head coach the Rams fired 3 times? Steve, you can't answer it. Who's the only head coach the Rams have fired 3 times? In fact, I'll even put it in the thing here. Who is the only HC the Rams have fired 3 times? HC meaning head coach. All right, cool. There we go. Let's see. It's $5 Steve. When are these teams going to realize without a quarterback you're not going to win a title? Aaron Donald was an all-time great, but didn't win a title until Stafford. Yeah, and I think Goff is really good. You just need a lot of stuff to be working for him, right? You just need a lot of stuff. And I'll argue, a couple of years ago, if not for a couple of drops by a former Ram receiver, they beat Frisco in Frisco, right? They got some problems now because now you got to pay these guys. They're paying Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're paying Aiden Hutchinson. You're paying these guys now. And if Josh Reynolds holds on to a couple of passes there at Levi a few years ago, it's a whole different story. They might have gotten their Super Bowl appearance, right? Let's see. Jim Everett. I might be too young for this one. Okay. You tell me, man. I think you're going to get it. I know Steve knows the answer, right? I know you do. All right. Let's look at something real quick here, guys. Let me throw this in here. I stole this graphic, clinched the playoff spot. You're going to look at the NFC on the right. You got Seahawks, Bears, Eagles. That's 1, 2, 3. That 4th spot is actually being saved for the winner of the South, Panthers or Buccaneers. Right now, the Panthers got the edge, but the Panthers get Seattle at home this week. So that is a huge one. If it sets up where Carolina wins, it looks like the Rams, and let's just say the Rams stay where they are. I think Frisco could lose to the Bears, but let's just stay where they are. Let's just say they stay where they are. The Rams would play in Philly in January the 11th, first round. That's if Carolina wins the division. Now, 49ers lose to the Bears. Rams win this week. Rams win out. Maybe the Rams get that 5th spot, and then they get a bite at Carolina again. And if the Rams get a shot at Carolina again, the Rams are going to hammer Carolina. I do believe that. I don't think we'll see a repeat of that one. I'd hate to go. I just don't want to go for the first game. I don't want to go to Chicago or Philly. I'd almost rather go back to Seattle. I really would. I'd rather go back to Seattle, and I have no fears, as Jim Everett and I were talking. I have no fear about going to Levi Stadium. Familiar places, familiar teams, right? You know the weather. Not that the Rams are going to be worked up about weather as much, but you always want a faster track, and I don't want to go back to Philly in the first round or to Chicago in the first round. So something to keep an eye on there. Same thing here in the AFC. You have some doubt regarding the AFC South. These are the teams that are still in the hunt. Colts are out. These guys aren't going anywhere. Then you got the Texans and the Steelers. These teams are going. The Steelers are in. They haven't technically won the division yet, but Baltimore is toast. So you got the Broncos, the Patriots, and getting back Milton Williams, I think, is huge. Jaguars are playing good ball. And I think the Chargers could be a first-round bounce. I know that sounds awful for the year they've had, but I believe they've had a first round. They're going to get a first. They just can't sustain it, right? Out of the AFC, I'm rooting for Buffalo, to tell you the truth. So there you go. Let's see. Surratt, I don't believe the Rams have peaked. Losing to Seattle was a silver lining. I was hoping the Carolina game would be that, because just you don't have to play that one extra game. I don't think the Rams are finished. I don't think they are either. And like I said at the top, I don't think you got Kevin Dotson. You got that issue a little bit. We don't need to see Devontae Adams or Kevin Dotson for the remainder of the season. We don't need to worry about Quentin Lake coming back until the playoffs. Let them sit. You should be able to win in Atlanta and against Arizona without these guys. So let them rest. And that's why I'm beginning to wonder, at what point do the Rams say, okay, this is where we want to lock ourselves in? And because I think it's a long shot, but we'll see. Seattle, they could lose to Carolina, because Carolina still has a lot to play for. And Carolina feels like a giant killer. They knocked us out. They knocked out Green Bay in Lambeau. And now, you've got Seattle, a couple of close wins they had to really emotionally struggle for. And they stole one from the Rams, so we'll say, because we're bitter. And now they got to go cross country. So I think Seattle can win it. I was leaning towards Seattle in my picks, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina wins that game. It's the Rams versus the refs. There we go. $5 Steve. I believe if the Rams win the last two, they're at least 5, no matter what Seattle and San Francisco do. I think that's where they land. I think you're right, but I don't know if these last games for the Bears still have a lot to play for. The Bear Frisco game, these are not give-me's. I think well into week 18, we're still going to see teams playing very, very hard to secure their spot, which hasn't always been the case the last few years. So let's see. Yesterday, we look at yesterday's games. I took the Cowboys over the Texans, so I felt good about that. Again, Cowboys, they're 7-8-1. Did you think they would be 7-8-1? Nobody thought they'd be 7-8-1. I didn't think they'd be 7-8-1, and they're better without Micah Parsons, and their future is more promising. Lions at Vikings. Yeah, I took the Lions. How do you go with that Viking quarterback, Max Brosmere or whatever it was? And I ate that one. And then Broncos at Chiefs. I did take the Broncos over the Chiefs, so I was 2-1 yesterday. I do like the Broncos. I mean, I don't like them as a fan, but I like them as a team. They're really good, and Bo Nix just keeps proving people wrong. Texans at the Chargers. Man, to me, the whole goal here is just I'm not going to let Justin Herbert get hit. And if it affects where I land in the playoff seeding, so be it. I'm not going to let Justin Herbert get hit, right? If I can not let Justin Herbert get hit and win 13-3, great. If I cannot let Justin Herbert get hit and lose 7-0, I'm just not going to let Justin Herbert get hit. That should be the priority. Justin Herbert takes another injury, something else happens, literally, you're 11-4 right now, Chargers. You blow this, it is over, right? You just sabotaged your season. Packers should crush the Ravens. We know that one. Seahawks at Panthers. I am leaning right now. The more I look at it, I am leaning Panthers. Cardinals at Bengals. I'm going to go Bengals. Steelers at Browns. I'm going to go Steelers. Jaguars at Colts. I'm going Jaguars. Buccaneers at Dolphins. Man, Buccaneers look like they've run out of gas. Now, they had a lot of injuries too. They kind of, they started off strong because I said they were my dark horse team, so I was feeling kind of full of myself. But they have died on the vine. I think it's going to cost Todd Bowles his job. And I'm going to go Buccaneers in this one. I'm going to go with Baker. There we go. I'm going with Baker. Patriots at Jets. I'm going with the Patriots. Saints at Titans. Titans have been playing better. I'm going with the Patriots. They seem to have found themselves. They got those older guys that are still playing. They never dealt away. Doesn't mean they're going anywhere next year, but they're still there. And I'm going to take the Saints. And then Giants at Raiders. Man, Giants at Raiders. All I could think of.
You are obsolete. You are obsolete.
Both these teams. Obsolete. I mean, I just don't even care, right? This is loser gets Fernando Mendoza, right? So with that said, I'm surprised I'm not a starting quarterback for one of those teams to make sure they lose. Eagles at Bills. I'm rooting for the Bills. I'm leaning Eagles. Bears at Niners. I'm actually leaning Bears. I just think the Bears are a better team. I think the 49ers have had a lot of fortune in their scheduling. Great job by the coaching staff. And then, of course, Rams, Falcons, we are going with the Rams. All right. Let's see what we got here. Surratt, I live in downtown Seattle. Many of my close friends are hardcore. Let's put that up there. Are hardcore Seattle Seahawks fans, and the Rams are the last team they want to face in the playoffs. See, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to be. I want to be the last team they want to face because they know they got away with one, right? They know they got away with one. Absolutely. Let's see. Manny is in the house. All right. Let's keep on pumping away here. I welcome all your thoughts on everything from Lamar Jackson to Myles Garrett to all those things. But let me do a little bit of Ram history as you guys contemplate that. And
it was a stone groove, my man.
Well, it wasn't a stone groove on this date in 1968. The Rams had another highly successful season, but because of the playoff structure, they missed the playoffs. And Rams owner Dan Reeves, not the Dan Reeves that played for the Cowboys and coached the Broncos and the Falcons to Super Bowls, but Dan Reeves, the owner of the Rams, fired George Allen as the head coach, and then rehired 2 weeks later on January 9th after a player revolt. Steve Ramirez knew this. $5 Steve knew this one. And then, of course, George Allen would be let go following the 70 season. And then, of course, 2 games into the 78 season, 2 preseason games. I was at the last one he coached. The Rams canned George Allen because he didn't have player support. In 68, he did. And if you remember, well, maybe you don't because I don't remember. I read about it. Steve would. In 69, after George Allen comes back in January, that season in the fall of 69, the Rams start the year 11-0. 11-0. I would have loved Super Bowl IV to have been between the Rams and the Chiefs. Brutal. On this day in 1997, the Rams signed Kurt Warner. He didn't throw a pass in 97. And he played in 1 game in 98 and went 4 out of 11 for 39 yards. And then he had some purple drink or something happened. In 1999, he was, that was Kurt Warner's year. Born on this day in 1924, locally out of Laverne, Bonita High School, Glenn Davis was born. Glenn Davis won the Heisman at West Point. He actually chose West Point over USC. West Point in Glenn Davis's 3 years on the varsity, 1944 to 1946. Glenn Davis and Doc Blanchard, Mr. Inside, Mr. Outside for Notre Dame. For West Point, went 27-0-1. Does Steve Ramirez know? Does $5 Steve know who that one tie was at? I guess I kind of tipped him off on that one. Davis was denied an extension through furloughs or accommodations that might allow him to play football on the Army. There was a public feeling that after the expense of his West Point education, he should just not go off and play football. Different attitudes in those days. And he was drafted by the Lions originally, and his rights were traded to the Rams. He joined the Rams in 1950, made the Pro Bowl, and was on the 1951 team, but had his career ended in 1952 with a knee injury. He was the fourth guy of the Rams' bull elephant backfield of Dan Towler, Dick Horner, and Tate Younger. So Glenn Davis, man, you go to West Point, you're at a different level, right? You go to West Point, you're at a different level. Absolutely. Paul, thank you for clicking on. I do appreciate that. The Rams would have beaten the Chiefs in Super Bowl IV. Paul says that. Man, that Chiefs team, man, was pretty good. I don't know. I think it could have gone down as the greatest Super Bowl in history. $5 Steve, the Notre Dame guy. The tie was to Notre Dame 0-0. That was that decade's game of the century, right? There's always a game of the century, right? Every 5 years. I think that game, Notre Dame and West Point, the 0-0 tie, was I'm surprised, in high school, they used to give it to you on first downs. If you had the most first downs, you would win the tiebreaker, but I guess that was only in the playoffs. So quick reminder note out here, on this date in 2007, Stu Nahan, Silvertip Stu. Does anyone remember Stu Nahan? He was one of the first sportscasters that really popped in my life before Jim Hill. He was at, was he at NBC? Or was he at, he was at ABC and KABC, and he died in 2007 at the age of 81. Silvertip Stu. Stu Nahan is the ring announcer, not the ring announcer. He called the fights for the first 3 Rocky movies. He's the announcer in those movies. So there you go. Games, NFL championship game on this date in 1955. The Rams lost to the Cleveland Browns 38-14. That was the last great run for that Ram team until George Allen arrived, and in 66 won 8 games, and then, of course, started going to the playoffs in 67. 1976, on this day, I didn't want to bring it up, but I have to. Rams lose in Minnesota 24-13. Funny story. I don't know how it was true, much it was true on the other side. I was visiting my dad at Christmas in Santa Clara. And of course, it's NorCal. And I have a brother. He was like a brother to me. He still is. We would be considered stepbrothers. But him and his friends were going to a nude beach. Now, what a nude beach was doing being open in December, I don't know. But they were all whispering that they were all going to go to a nude beach that day. And they asked me if I wanted to go. And I said, "Are you out of your mind?" I said, "The Rams are playing the Vikings in the NFC Championship game." And they looked at me like I was crazy because they weren't football people. And of course, everything started beautifully in that game. And then it kind of started going south when Ron Jesse was denied by the refs. The refs were shafting the Rams 50 years ago. And then, of course, the Tom Dempsey blocked kick that Bobby Bryant returned, and then Bobby Bryant picking off Pat Hayden. I always thought James Harris would have been a better option in that game. And, of course, exactly 1 year later, the Rams were going to get revenge in the divisional playoffs, and instead they lost in the Mud Bowl. Like it's raining right now. They lost in the Mud Bowl to the Vikings 14-7, and there was debate there that Chuck Knox, in his last game as Ram head coach, should have put Joe Namath back in. So there you go. Paul remembers Silver Stip too. Yes, NBC. Steve, I still hate Bobby Bryant. Yeah, he came off and picked off that pass when the Rams were coming back. That was all heartbreak. And my brother and his friends came in after they got back from the beach, and I don't know what they saw or if anything was true, but they came back in going, "Oh, Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota," just to make me upset. So I cursed them. Rams lost to the Bears on this day in 1982, 34-26. I think this is the Ferragamo game. think Ferragamo threw for 509 yards. On this day in 1983, Rams beat the Cowboys 24-17 in Dallas. That was John Robinson's first playoff win with the Rams. That was a great win in Dallas. Rams lost a wild card game in Minnesota on this date in 1988. I really hated that game. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. And I think that's it. I think I got it. I think we got it all in. All right. We can keep talking football if you guys want. All right. Thoughts on the Rams. Is everyone sold on Warren McClendon now? Right? Everyone's sold on Warren McClendon because these are the questions that I had typed up just extra here. Is everyone sold on Warren McClendon being the right tackle going into next year? And do you think it's a priority that the Rams draft another wide receiver somewhere in the top 100 next year? Anyone, any thoughts on that? I'm going to take this to 45 minutes and then we'll phase back. But any thoughts on that, guys? Because I'm sold on Warren McClendon, and I do think the Rams need to draft another wide receiver, given age and style of play. They probably do need to draft a corner in the top 100. Right now, their picks are at 28 and 11. And so I'm all for, you're not going to get Fernando Mendoza. There's no way Fernando Mendoza is going to land here. So my feeling is when the season is over, if Stafford is still upright, if Stafford is still feeling strong, if Stafford still wants to go one more year, then my feeling is you back off drafting a quarterback, at least in the high rounds, and you trade and you build up draft equity, draft capital, and you go. You're going to need some interior linemen. You're going to need a center, I think. Definitely. I don't think you are. You need a center. I think you need a receiver. You got to draft a corner. And those are the things that I think are Ram priorities. Let's see. Paul, McClendon is good to go. So we're all good on McClendon. I think so too. I think the KBM is coming around to our position that we took a few weeks ago. Let's see. $5 Steve. Yes, we don't need a tackle high in the draft. Get a center, wide receiver, and corner. So the Rams have plenty of cap space. So would you extend Puka this offseason? This is the end of Puka's third year. He'll be going into his contract year. Would you extend Puka this offseason? And I don't think this is a real tricky question, so I'm hesitant to ask it. Would you not consider re-signing Quentin Lake? Because Quentin Lake's a free agent too. Would you not want to bring Quentin Lake back? And could you argue to some degree, the Rams defense is good enough to win, but it becomes that much more mortal when Quentin Lake is not in the lineup? I'm ready to admit that. I thought the Rams, and I think the Rams are fine. They had the game won in Seattle, right? We know that. They had the game won in Seattle. I think Carolina got real lucky, right? They got real lucky. And so I was hesitant to say you missed Quentin Lake, but the Rams defense is just not as dominant. That last drive that Seattle had against the Rams for the win, that was disgusting for a Rams defense that has played this well, has this much talent. That was a terror. That was an insulting drive to that defense. So I would really question whether or not that whole policy. I think you need to bring Quentin Lake back. And Cam Curl is in his walk year. They only signed him for 2 years. I don't know if they're going to bring him back, given you got Jalen McCullough and Cam Kitchens. And then the other one was Akilla Witherspoon. Does anyone know exactly what it is with Akilla Witherspoon? There you go. $5 Steve. I think Quentin Lake is underrated. I do too. Absolutely, ESG. I really do. I think so. I want a Jason Kelsey type center. I think, again, that's going to be the thing. I don't want to go to Philadelphia and have to hope Coleman Shelton plays well. But They have played well this year. I just think there's a ceiling that he has. Probably a good idea to sign Puka now, but I'm a little concerned about his antics. I'm not too concerned. I think there's some foolishness. I know, Paul, you agree, keep Lake. I'm right there with you. But yeah, there's some youthfulness there. But man, I think I specifically remember after a church playoff game where we just got horribly robbed by the officials. I mean, you got to understand the officials in church league basketball, they're as bad. I mean, they're so bad they probably can't get a junior high gig. And one time, and this is before the NBA rules have all changed, old school, we're playing a 2-3 zone, and I'm on defense. And an official called me for 3 seconds on defense. And I looked at him, and he looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm thinking, where do they get these guys, right? Where do they get these guys, right? And so we lost a playoff game. It was a semifinal. If we had won, we'd have gone to the finals. And I'm 19 years old, so you got to forgive me. So the refs, they jobbed us pretty bad. And I told the refs, I said, you got what you wanted. I said, go to hell. And I walked out of the gym. When you're 19, you do stuff like that, right? When you're mid-20s, you do stupid stuff like that. And it was Puka's brother that stole the car, not Puka, right? Puka hasn't been picked up for a DUI at 1 a.m. And I think he hears the Rams when they talk to him. And again, you're going to tweet when you're upset, right? Probably shouldn't. It's going to cost him money. But, if more people put the NFL officials and the NFL on blast, I think it'd be healthier for everybody. But they don't, and they need to be put on blast. And honestly, there's some calls. You still see the calls, and you said, why did they make that call, right? Why did they make that call? Unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah, I would extend him. Bill, Stafford is 3 TDs away from Marino for 6th place in touchdown passes, and he's 120 yards away from being from Big Ben 6th place for passing yards. I did not know that, right? I didn't know that. Yeah, I imagine it means something to him, so I want him to get it, right? I imagine it means something, but those things just kind of like, I don't really care anymore. What I do care about is I care about watching Stafford play, because we've all watched football our entire lives. I don't know if we saw Elway, Montana. We could forget about arguing better, worse, this, that. But just when you start watching a quarterback who maybe you're not even a fan of because you hate the team, you just get amazed at how good they are, how great they are at their craft, right? Even Manning, Peyton at the end, that guy couldn't throw a ball through a glass window, but man, he just knew his craft, right? And that's the part that's amazing. So, last ad here, coming up to 50 minutes, $5 Steve. We also have Kobe Turner and and Byron Young. Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to we kept an eye on Josiah Stewart this year, because by the time you sign Byron Young, he's going to be 29. Now, I know he doesn't have as much mileage as a regular 29-year-old does, but he's still 29. And I don't know if I want to pay him huge money. You get more clicks out of you get the same amount of clicks out of Josiah Stewart. We'll see. But yeah, he's going into his 4th year next year. Yeah. And the conductor, to me, that's an automatic, right? Sign him early, right? The Rams do have the money. Kobe Turner is somebody, because you got to keep that strength along the front, right? Those guys are harder to replace than everyone else. All right. I think we got it. I think we got it all in. George Allen was the only Rams head coach that was fired 3 times. So there you go. I knew Steve knew that one. Hey guys, it's good to be back into a rhythm. I'll even take a picture when I get my new car. But thanks for being patient. Hope you had a great Christmas, and for joining me at this hour of the day. Hit like, subscribe. God bless. Take care. We'll see you soon.